women of The View. We haven't spoken about them quite a while on this show, but we have to get into the story because this is crazy, like insane, crazy here. On The View, they were arguing about Iran. They were arguing about the U.S. possibility of going to war with Iran. And some of the things that they said is very clear to me. These women either are uneducated or they're lying on purpose. And it could be a combination of both. Sunny Hostin, on the other hand, which is interesting, actually criticized Israel for the first time. Does she really feel that way, or is she saying that because Trump is in office? Let's go ahead and get into it. Let's start with this clip here.
And it's slow.
But let's just remember, too, the Iranians literally throw gay people off of buildings. They don't adhere to basic human rights.
Listen, here's the thing. Let's not do that.
Let's go back to that again. Listen to what she said.
And it's slow.
But let's just remember, too, the Iranians literally throw gay people off of buildings. They don't.
Do we know this to be true? Do we know this to be true? What's the source for this? When did this happen? You see how they just say stuff?
Don't adhere to basic human rights.
Listen, here's the thing. Let's not do that, because if we start with that, we have been known in this country to tie gay folks to the car.
Where the Iranian regime is today in 2025 is nothing compared to the United States.
Hanging black people. So
it is not even the same. I couldn't step foot during this.
Wait. That's not what you mean to say. It is the same.
No, it's not. The year 2025 in the United States is nothing like if I step foot wearing this outfit into Toronto.
I'm sorry.
So she's talking about her outfit. Watch this.
To the car.
Where the Iranian regime is today in 2025 is nothing compared to the United States.
Hanging black people. So
it is not even the same. I couldn't step foot during this.
Wait. That's not what you mean to say. It is the same.
No, it's not. The year 2025 in the United States is nothing like if I step foot wearing this outfit in Toronto.
So the outfit that she is wearing, here's another lie. Notice she has on long sleeves, right? Okay. So again, there are multiple videos on YouTube. You guys can look this up for yourself, where you see women in Tehran wearing somewhat less than what she has on. She has on long sleeve dress, right? You know where you can't, like the sleeves actually are an issue as well. Saudi Arabia. I'll show you that in just a second. So you'll mention that about Iran, but she won't mention it about Saudi Arabia. You see, this is how the propaganda works. And a lot of Americans, if you don't ask, they're not going to question it. If you're like this show basically caters towards stay-at-home moms, right? If you're a stay-at-home mom, and let's say you may have never even left your state, you don't know that what she's saying is false. Now, yes, there is a dress code for women in Iran, but some of that has even changed. And I'll get into that as well. But she doesn't tell you that. She tells you if she's wearing what she's wearing, like something would happen to her in Iran. Let's continue.
I'm sorry.
Listen, I can't have my hair showing. I can't wear a skirt. I can't have my arms out.
That is false. That she can't have her hair showing. She can't wear a skirt. That is false. This is false information. As we've said before, that part has changed, right? Again, I'm going to show you the comparison to Saudi Arabia.
I'm telling you,
I literally said it was up to the Iranian people.
Yes,
it is up to them.
And that's why I am saying that it is the same. Murdering someone for their difference is not good. Whoever does it, it's not good. So that's why I said you weren't saying what I heard was not what you meant. I
think it's very different to live in the United States in 2025 than it is to live in Iran.
Not if you're black.
Not for everybody.
Not if you're black.
Guys, don't go to.
So does everybody see the divide that's happening now? because Alyssa said that if you live in the United States in 2025, it's a different experience than living in Iran in 2025. And Whoopi Goldberg said, not if you're Black. See, this is the problem with the West, because the West wants to point fingers at other countries as though the United States is perfect. It's not. As if we don't have bigotry here, as if we don't have racism in this country, as if we don't have any of these problems. We do. We really don't have any right to wag our finger at anybody else. We haven't even solved it. Are you kidding me? We have a criminal justice system that really is not justice. That's not fair. We have systems in this country, education system in this country is also not fair. It's based on your zip code. And depending on what your zip code is, that depends on whether or not the school that you are able to attend is going to have enough resources or not. Because property taxes fund the public education system. I mean, there's so many things that people can say about this country. No country is perfect, but the problem that I have with the US is that we tend to walk around and put our head up in the air as if our shit don't stink. As if we got it all figured out and we don't do anything wrong and everything here is perfect. I mean, we got homeless veterans on the street. We got people who have medical debt. A lot of people who have medical debt. We have people who have gone into bankruptcy because they were diagnosed with cancer. But we got to point our fingers at everybody else. You kidding me? We have a literacy rate in this country that has continued to decline. But we pointing our fingers at everybody else. Maybe it's just time for the West to sit back and take care of their own damn people and focus on improving their own countries instead of wagging their finger at everybody else's. Because it's really not about that. That's an excuse. It's really about the resources. They want the oil. They use that as their excuse.
Do not anyone at this table should get to
Let me tell you about being in this country. This is the greatest country in the world. But yeah, I know that. And we all know that. But every day we are worried. Do we have to be worried about our kids? Are their kids going to get shot because they're running through somebody's neighborhood? They are not big deals. And I don't mean to say they're not big deals to you, because that's not women, what I meant.
And they are not doing well there either. They are not doing well in Iran.
How do we know that this is the greatest country in the world? And again, I'm sincerely asking. I just want people to start thinking outside of your bubble. If this is the only country you've ever lived in, how do you know this is the greatest country in the world? Because you were told that? How do we know? We don't really know. Is it the greatest country in the world for people who have enormous amounts of debt because, again, we don't provide health care to everybody? I don't know. Is this the greatest country in the world for Black people? I don't know. I have seen Black people move to other countries and they seem to be doing pretty well. So I don't know about that. So when you say it's the greatest country in the world, but then you just also said not necessarily for Black people, who is it the greatest country in the world for? I don't even know if it's the greatest country in the world for poor people. I don't know that. We don't know. Let's get out of our echo chambers.
They're not educated. They cannot property. They cannot be
States. I'm talking about here.
Nobody wants to diminish the very real problems we have in this country. That is no one's intent. But I think it's important we remember there are places much darker than this country and people who deserve rights.
Not everybody feels that way. Not everybody feels that way. Listen, I'm sorry. You know, when you think about the fact that we got the vote in 1965.
Okay, they don't have free and fair elections in Iran. It's not even the same universe.
We don't have fair elections here. Hello? How do we have fair elections when we have a DNC that basically tells us who the nominee is going to be, regardless if that other nominee receives so many votes more than the other one, like when Bernie ran against Hillary Clinton? What are you talking about? See, again, we clean up your own backyard before you go pointing fingers at someone else's backyard. What are you talking about? Our elections are bought. Alyssa living the dream.
They can't go out of their house. The women.
You know what? There's no way I can make you understand.
No, let me try something. It's like try to reverse roles with a black person in this country, let's say, because I think that's what you're talking about.
Yes.
Just try to understand from their point of view. From that point of view, this country does not do them well. Does not go for them.
I completely acknowledge that. And we shouldn't compare atrocities.
If you're talking about Iran, of course, is doing worse things. But relatively speaking, it feels bad.
Okay, but I think you know that Iran is significant.
I guess we're going to come back and talk. We're going to come back and talk more about this.
We don't know this. We don't know those things. I remember all the things that I was told about these countries. I remember what I was told about Iran, what I was told about Iraq, what I was told about, just the Middle East in general. And they were all against, like, all these statements, of course, were against, like, the Muslim people. And it's easy to believe it if you don't do your own research. You really don't know. You don't know. You're just repeating things that you were told. You're just repeating it. Now, to show you the difference, Max Blumenthal was here. He was just in Iran. Listen to what he said.
In North Tehran and in many of the parts of Tehran, most of the women were not wearing their headscarf. They would just wear it around their neck.
That's exactly what I was going to ask you, because I know many people wanted to know that. So that's not true then, that all the women have to wear the headscarf in at least Tehran.
No, the government has just taken their foot off the gas pedal on the whole hijab issue. It's the sense I got, and this was told to me anecdotally, that after the Mahsa Amini color revolution, the women life freedom protests, which turned very violent and led to over 50 police officers being killed, the government decided to kind of take that card away from the West. And so they're not really enforcing it. There were occasions where I traveled with Anya, so I got to see it on a more intimate level, just traveling with a woman. I can only recall one incident where she was asked to put on her headscarf. We went into a rest stop in the desert between Isfahan and Tehran. And there were two women there whose job was to kind of, watch for breaches of morality, including the headscarf. And they were not paying attention at all. They were just sitting there on their phones, and people were not wearing headscarves around them. There have been grassroots protests, including by women who are pro-Islamic revolution, demanding that the state enforce the headscarf again. And they were basically, in many cases, told to go home, to just kind of to chill out and let the state handle it, and not to engage in vigilantism. Because one thing the state is afraid of or does not want is a massive conflict between the secular part of the public, which is very large, and the religious part of the public, which is large and still very ideologically motivated.
So I just wanted everyone to hear that, right? From someone who was just there. Alyssa is just repeating propaganda. All those women, a lot of those women sitting there are just repeating propaganda. And then I'll just show you the comparison here with Saudi Arabia. So check it out. I just want people to see this, because if you're going to mention that about Iran, make sure you mention Saudi Arabia as well. Now, Saudi Arabia may not have as many restrictions, but even when it comes to the clothing in Saudi Arabia, look at this. No for female clothing, nothing above the knee. Right? Obviously, you couldn't wear like a halter top. And I think these are jeans with these are ripped jeans. So that would also be a no. So you can't show. So in Saudi Arabia, nothing above the knee. Does everybody see this? Okay. So again, Alyssa, why she not tell you that? Why they not tell you that Saudi Arabia has these type of restrictions too? Because that is not the goal of the narrative. The narrative is to sell you on the fact that Iran is a problem, to get you to support this war that the U.S. apparently wants to go into, even though the majority of the people don't want it. Sunny Hostin came in and she decided to criticize Israel. And I think this is the first time I've seen her do it on the show. Listen to this.
What people aren't talking about is that Israel preemptively struck Iran. And so I think the conversation would be very different if another country preemptively sent missiles to this country, right? No one would be saying, this is fine with, sure.
Because I think that the Iranians and the Israelis believe that Iran would like to completely destroy Israel. That Iran is an existential threat.
So this is the other problem, right? So again, these women really don't need to talk about foreign policy without having an expert on the show, because the reality is this, and I don't mean a propagandist, I mean a real geopolitical expert on that show. Here's the thing. They keep criticizing Iran for what they think they are going to do. But Joy Behar, you are not criticizing Israel for what it is doing and what it has already done. It's like, and I hate to give this example, but we've got to go back to the Second Amendment. It's like assuming that someone who's a registered gun owner, because they have a gun, but because they look a certain way, or maybe they act a certain way, that they are going to use it to kill people. And you don't know that. Well, I think this person is going to use their gun to do this. You don't know that. And you're trying to hold someone accountable for something that hasn't happened. And that's dangerous. Now, we wouldn't be okay with that in the US, but we're okay to doing that to another country. So you see how Joy comes in to continue the propaganda?
Existential threat to Israel.
But that does
so
not.
They're saying, if you're trying to kill us, we want a nuclear bomb. And we don't want you to have a nuke.
That is fine, but you have to do that legally and under international criminal law.
Iran's launched tons of missiles against Israel in the last few years.
Notice when Sonny starts to come in and explain international law, notice that Alyssa comes in and goes, Iran has launched tons of missiles after Israel struck first. Now, I think Sonny has a game here too, and I'm going to tell you that in a minute.
Iran's launched tons of missiles against Israel in the last few years. You're not supposed to do
this.
I'm not sure Iran does things illegally.
But under international law, Israel should not be preemptively striking another country. And President Trump just said yesterday he demanded Iran's unconditional surrender and threatened to kill its supreme leader. He wrote, "We know exactly where the so-called supreme leader is hiding. He is an easy target, but is safe there. We are not going to take him out. Kill, at least not for now." That is also illegal under this country's executive order. And these executive orders have been ongoing since Gerald Ford. The current executive order says you cannot threaten, nor can you kill the leader of another country. We really need to have a bird's eye view of what's going on. If that's okay for Israel to do, if that's okay for our president to do, is that okay for another country to do to us?
Well, think of it this way.
So you see what's really happening here, right? Here's what I believe. I believe the reason why Sonny Hostin is criticizing Israel's government now is because it's happening under the Donald Trump administration. Because when the genocide started under Biden and Kamala, and we will continue to say that on the show, I will not let people forget how they sat back and just let this happen. When that was happening under Biden and Kamala Harris, Sonny Hostin doesn't want to criticize Israel. What did she say? Give Kamala Harris a chance. Then you find out it is reported earlier this year that Biden and Kamala never, ever asked them to stop bombing. Never. It was all a lie. And that means AOC lied to you too, which I had predicted back then. We called it out. So, no. You see, it's easy to do it when it's the other party. And I'm looking at a lot of people, and I've said this before, for all of you who were silent about the genocide when it happened under Biden and Kamala, but now you want to speak out. Yeah, I'm looking at you funny. I'm looking at you with a side eye, because that means, to me, that tells me it's just partisan for you. You don't really care about those kids dying. You just want to pretend like you care now because it was partisan. Same thing I said to the Trump supporters as well. If you're totally fine with all the war and bombing now, but you were calling it out under Biden and Harris, I'm looking at you with a side eye too. We pull no punches on this show. We pull no punches on here. I don't give a damn. None of these politicians are actually working for you or me. And when they're wrong, we're going to call them out. But I think it's interesting that Sonny wants to do it now when it's convenient to do so, because it's happening under Trump's administration. And I think that's really what this is about.
If Canada was saying
and illegal,
was going to build a nuclear bomb and they threatened to kill us all, what would we do?
You have to do it diplomatically, Joy.
Really?
You can't just
What's
bomb
so
a country.
diplomatic about having a nuclear bomb and threatening another country?
First of all, they don't necessarily have a nuclear bomb. President Obama, one of his foreign policy wins was that he had an agreement with Iran.
They're building it.
And well, Trump actually,
Obama acknowledged that they were building.
But Trump actually rolled out of that bill. And that's why I think Israel took this opportunity, because if there had been an agreement between the US and Iran, a nuclear agreement, Israel could not have bombed.
Israel
and so
has had a target on its back
bomb.
its entire existence
Doesn't mean
every terrorist organization known to man. And Iran is the world's leading state sponsor of terrorism.
Doesn't mean you can proactively
I'm just
bomb a
saying
country.
that.
No, actually, that would be the United States and Israel. It's the United States and Israel that has caused terror all over the world. It's the United States and Israel that has bombed and stolen and robbed these countries. I don't remember, again, I don't remember Iran invading Haiti. I don't remember Iran, invading Somalia. I just don't remember Iran doing these things. And if I'm incorrect, please let me know. But I don't remember them doing these things. What you have is a Western power that is basically dominated by supremacy, money, and resources. This is colonialism. And some people don't like when I say it, but I'm going to just keep it real. If you support what Israel is doing, you are backing supremacy, because that's what they're doing. You leave religion out of this. We already did the whole religion discussion. And I already told you the Israel that's mentioned in the Bible is not the Israel of today. It's not even a physical place. But Zionists have sold this to pastors, and pastors sell it to their church, and etc. And they've spread this lie for years because they know a lot of people aren't going to sit back and do their own research. But you got the Bible right in front of you and you reading along, but you're not paying attention to what you really reading. You listening to what they saying. That's what this is. Another colonial project. It's the last colonial project in the world. So colonialism never ended.
These are the people that attacked them. They fund Hamas. I understand why they're doing it. And by the way, let me remind people about Mahsa Amini, who's an Iranian woman who was killed for miswearing her hijab. More than a vast majority of that country is also not happy with the people in
so we
power.
Don't like what another.
Is it a vast majority? How do you know that for sure? How do you know that for sure? Now all of a sudden you care about these women?
No, they deserve this. I'm saying I'm not going to defend the legalness of a terrorist nation that has been funding people, killing people for decades, and say, well, they didn't follow the law. They've never followed the law.
I just want to throw this in there. You might want to think about this, because the reason there is diplomacy is so people are not bombing each other willy-nilly.
Yeah. Which is why I commend what's going on right now, because the U.S. is not actively involved.
Well, no, they're not actively involved because...
But they were. Even at that point, the U.S. was still involved. See, this I told you, they just don't know anything. The U.S. was already involved because remember, the drill was practiced a year ago. 1 year ago. The U.S. been involved. If it's got something to do with the Middle East, the U.S. is involved. And you'd be a fool to think otherwise.
By law,
they're not supposed to.
He can't make that decision unilaterally.
If I was the target of every country,
unilaterally. Oh, but by the way, Iran has launched ballistic missile attacks on U.S. forces in Iraq in just 3 years ago, preemptively. They have attacked Israel preemptively.
No, it wasn't preemptively. Here's what Alyssa leaves out. Right? So that was after the U.S. killed Soleimani. Why doesn't Alyssa tell you that? Why does she? This woman was on Rising, by the way. Did you guys know that? You got to imagine her with blonde hair. She used to be on The Hill Rising before she somehow ended up on The View. Interesting how that happened. But this is another thing that you guys got to understand. She totally leaves that part out. So she says, oh, this is preemptively. No, the United States government assassinated Soleimani. And the U.S. government knew they were going to respond after that. Why doesn't she tell you that?
terrorist nation and the biggest.
So should we do what they do?
No, as I said, the people of Iran have self-determination, and they want the Ayatollah gone. They should do it internally through a democratic
And by the way, I want to say this
to.
so that I don't get a bunch of hate mail. Criticism of the Israeli government is not anti-Semitic. Okay, I am criticizing Benjamin Netanyahu. I am criticizing Israel. I am not an anti-Semite, but I under international criminal law, what is happening now is not legal. That's the bottom line.
That's the thing.
You notice how she had to add that part there at the end because, oh, they'll be so quick to use it against you. And next thing you know, Sonny won't have that job. We've seen this happen to a number of people who've been fired because they criticize Israel, again, who's controlling this country. But we are at war, folks. We are at war with media as well. As you can see, even when it comes to, the media, the people cannot rely on corporate media or shows like The View to give them the full story. Look at how many things I had to add to that story that they omitted from that conversation. A lot of it's controlled. Hey guys, this was a Sabby clip. If you like what you saw, hit that like button and subscribe.